Welcome to St. Paul Public Schools' annual State of the District Address. My name is Anjali Kadim, and I'm so happy to be here with you this morning. I'm the project director for the St. Paul Promise Neighborhood Initiative. The Obama administration last year launched the Promise Neighborhood Initiative, which awarded one-year planning grants to communities with established partnerships and plans for working together for the better good of student support and education. After a full year of complicated and messy work, institutional leaders such as the Wilder Foundation, the City of St. Paul Public Schools, and Ramsey County, including 72 community partners, are ready to move forward with the initiative's goal to ensure that we are effectively working together to see all of our children succeed in school so that they can succeed in life. Now that you know who I am, I'm going to give you a few minutes to introduce yourselves to the people at your table in case you didn't get to do that. Thank you. Thank you. The Promise Neighborhood. Wow. It's like having a kindergarten class almost. The Promise Neighborhood is not an area that lacks passionate providers doing great work or a school district not intentionally addressing the racial gap in education outcomes. It is rather reflective of a lack of alignment, integration, and shared accountability in our collective infrastructure. Community feedback in the planning year revealed a lack of knowledge about available services and a lack of access to them. Local providers and community leaders recognize a need for universal and comprehensive data, for more effective community engagement, and for better tools and pathways so families can find and secure resources. Community participants throughout the planning year brought forth a loud voice demanding a system that is more accessible, easier to navigate, and implemented in a design that is culturally relevant and culturally responsive to the neighborhood's rich diversity. The St. Paul Promise Neighborhood planning process has produced a shared strategy to create an aligned and effective continuum of solutions with great schools at the center to make real the promise of success in school and life for all children and youth. Superintendent Silva is focused on creating lasting and meaningful relationships that will support academics. She has taken a very intentional role in helping organizations make tangible commitments to serve students and families in the Promise Neighborhood. The school district made changes this year for the Achievement Plus schools, including Jackson and Maxfield, by adding 1 hour of instructional time to the schools and shortening the walk zone to half mile so that children get a bus to school. Superintendent Silva is also leading the charge to eliminate the achievement gap while improving achievement for all. Central to this goal is a focus on educational equity. In 2011, the school district began in earnest the metamorphosis from a system that was designed and acculturated to serve some students well into a system that serves every student well. The transformations are playing out on individual and a system level. And no one can tell these stories quite like the individuals themselves. Please join me in watching a brief video of St. Paul students, teachers, and parents in their own voices.
You're supposed to poke a hole and don't really poke it right here and you squeeze, turn. Then we put our hand in it and turn it.
My favorite subject would be social studies and math.
Math.
Arts, theatre and dance.
Doing my homework.
I like math and library.
I like reading because I'm really good at that.
Math, writing, and reading.
When I started high school freshman year, my study habits and my friendship circle were really negative environment to be in. Without AVID, I wouldn't have been able to have those skills in order to make that transformation from freshman year where I didn't care up to junior year where everything that I've done in class is full effort, 100%.
I like reading kind of like biography and like about Harriet Tubman and Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King.
A Ghost in the House. Una fantasma en la casa.
Dark Wimpy Kid, Cabin Fever, and The Dark Hills Divide.
I spent all first grade through 12th grade in the St. Paul public school system. For me, I think it really opened my eyes at a fairly early age, even in elementary school, to the benefits and beauty of the diversity that SPPS has. For me, being a part of such a diverse atmosphere has very much made me into the person that I am today.
That there's great kids in every classroom and all the teachers are nice.
The first time I came into the school, there was just a really positive, warm feeling that just was radiating throughout the building, and that tells me a lot.
I like lots of things, learning, the teachers, the food, the playground, lots of choices.
It's making a difference, knowing that whether it is socially in a child's life, whether it is academically, or with some parents, I know that I can make a difference.
I was 7 years old, my father passed away, and I started getting distracted really easily. And my breakthrough point was probably in high school, my freshman year, when I started working with Miss Wilmus. And that's when, stuff really started clicking because she was there to help me. I have all A's with a 4.0 GPA, and I made it on the dean's list. I never thought I could pull off that 4.0 or get on the dean's list just from my previous, school experience.
I want to be a teacher.
A teacher?
Engineer, or open my own clothing line.
I want to graduate high school with good grades and a clean record.
And I want to be an author when I grow up.
When I grow up, I would like to be a scientist or a teacher.
Interested in being a singer and singing pop.
From the start, I've always liked superheroes, so I've always wanted to be one. But then it started changing into being a fashion designer.
I'm a doctor.
My dreams for my kids are to go to college and become something and somebody's and be able to help someone else.
Being at the school has really, it's really opened me up to all these different possibilities of what I could be later in life. So there's all these possibilities. I'm open to all of them.
As many of you know, Superintendent Valeria Silva is homegrown. She's been in the district for 25 years and has seen 2 of her own children graduate from St. Paul Public Schools. She has the trust of many because she's been there, in the trenches, and anyone who's ever seen her in school knows she gets right back in there without hesitation. In just 2 years, she has moved the district forward on a system-wide scale that we have not seen in years. Those who know her best say this: Innovation in education is in her blood. Whether it's leading the charge to change the status quo for English language learners into a nationally recognized model, or creating an entirely new way of addressing shrinking enrollment so that small schools remain strong and viable for learning, Superintendent Silva is the kind of leader who will always do what's best for students. Her passion for students first has been evident since day one and has not wavered. Spending time in the classroom and connecting with students remains one of her favorite parts of what she enthusiastically calls the best job in the world. Each of us should continue to expect innovation in education from our leader because it is clearly what she was born to do. Ladies and gentlemen, Superintendent Valeria Silva.
Good morning, everybody. As you may know, we chose two people with strong accents for your morning meeting. And that is a very good way to keep you awake. And as you heard from the student, my purpose today is to come out of here without a record of bad conduct and to be able to give you a vision of what we are in St. Paul today and what we hope to be in the future. For all of you that you are here today, I thank you for being here in the morning, because morning times for many people, including myself, are tough. And I want to begin by thanking the St. Paul Public Schools Foundation and the Great Twin City United Way for making this morning event possible. We greatly appreciate the support to St. Paul Public School, not only for today's ongoing commitment, today's event, but the ongoing commitment that you had for many years in our school district. Please give them a hand. Let me tell you a little bit about St. Paul Public School Foundation. It's currently tutoring 7,000, yes, 7,000 students in our schools and making grants to support teachers and in the work in their schools. Not less, the United Way is investing about $9 million every year in St. Paul students and families by funding programs focusing on education, health, and basic needs. I especially like to thank also Angelique Kadim, which I practiced all night to say the last name, for starting us with our meeting today and that inspiring message of the work you have ahead of you. We are very lucky to have you in our team. And yes, Major, I'm taking her in my team too. With us today, we have several leaders who are working hard to help St. Paul Public School achieve its goals. First, our board members, and I would like to thank them and recognize them for all the long hours and the amount of work they do every day. Most people don't know, but it's more than a full-time job. And I will start with Elona Street Stewart. Please stand up. Jean O'Connell. Jean. I believe John Broderick is here. He told me last night he will be here. And Carol, and I think she's out there. Jess Risberg, yes. And we also wanted to welcome the new elected board members who will begin serving in our board in January. And they are Mary Duran, Mary is here, and Luis Eva. Thank you. You do not know what you got into. As we all know, none of this work can be done alone. At each table, serving as a table host, I have members of my senior leadership team that do all the work. Please stand up. I also see and thank all the several superintendents that are here today that I would like to recognize. And superintendent from EMET, East Metro Integrated District. We have the superintendent from Minneapolis Public Schools. We have the superintendent from, I'm trying to see, Woodbury, my old home. We have the superintendent from, help me out, South St. Paul. And we have our newer elect big boss of all superintendents, Mr. Amoroso. Thank you for being here. I know it's tough to get here in the morning. I really appreciate it. Believe it or not, there's a very lonely job in the superintendency, and very many times during the week and the month, we call each other to support each other on our very, very large duty of changing the life of children. As I said, as Angelique said, I have the best job in the city for sure, after the mayor, maybe around there, and probably in the world. I also wanted to welcome all our elected officials that they are here today from the city, the county, the St. Paul delegation, that every day provide a voice for our students. Please stand up to be recognized. And finally, one of the St. Paul School's strongest supported, Mayor Chris Coleman, is here with us today. Thank you for everything you have been done for us in St. Paul. It has been a wonderful traveling time in the last, believe it or not, 2 years. Believe it or not, 11 years it seems, but it's only 11 months. And I stood here in front of you to introduce our plan to deliver a premier education for every student under our Strong School, Strong Community plan. I said then that our new strategic plan will provide a rational design for maintaining quality, improving achievement, and narrowing the gap during a time of diminishing resources. Don't we all know that? Today I can tell you that I'm more confident than ever that we are moving in the right direction, and I'll tell you how. When the school board unanimous approved the Strong School, Strong Community plan last March, we knew that we had just passed the most comprehensive reform in St. Paul Public School had had in more than 40 years, believe it or not. We knew that we now possess a very student-centered framework to move from pockets of excellence to excellence for every student. And we knew that we had put in place the conditions to break a predictable pattern of lower achievement for African American and American Indian students. In the course of our plan, the data review was hard to take. We found two very surprising realities. First, students of color do as well or better in St. Paul community schools than they do in magnet schools. Surprising. Second, the St. Paul neighborhood schools are far more naturally integrated than most cities in this country. These findings challenges us to re-engineer our choice system and continue to provide families with multiple options, but in a much more sustainable and community-centered way. We are year one of 3-year journey to deliver the best education possible in every classroom, in every school, in every community, without exception or excuse. From Nokomis to Horace Mann, from St. Anthony Park to Battle Creek, we are accelerating our progress at scale. We chose the path of transformation because we know that change is not enough. Transformation. In 2005, our Bill Gates, good friends at St. Paul, described American high schools as obsolete, a very provocative statement. He said, training the workforce of tomorrow with the schools of today is like trying to teach kids about today's computers on a 50-year-old mainframe. It is the wrong tool for the times. Now consider this. The year 2020, a time that still sounds almost futuristic, is less than a decade away. Let's do your math. We are living in what some will call the decade of transformation. Our friend futurist David Hall predicts that the next 10 years will be a level of transformation like no other in history. He says that the internet and our use of mobile devices have created connections that on a global scale are starting to feel like a global brain. Can you see this global brain? Interesting. A global brain. Can you imagine what that means for our teachers and the tools they use in the classrooms today? In almost every way, schools are nexus of how far we will go and how fast we get there. Knowing that the schools play such a critical role in a collective future, I'm encouraged by the progress St. Paul Public School is making in several fronts. I'll tell you a little bit about that. 2 indicators will tell us achievement and enrollment are my indicators that we are on the right path. Both are up. That's good. And in numbers that we haven't seen in years. First, let me tell you about achievement. On the Minnesota Comprehensive Assessment, known as MCA, and I'm sure you all know, we saw a 4% gain in reading. 4%, it may not be as large for the business community, but it is very large for an assessment that is taken by thousands of students. It is the largest single gain since 2008. We saw a consistent pattern of gain across all grades and all student groups. That is good news. 25 schools posted gains of 5% or more. Among them, we have the St. Paul Music Academy. It's a co-location of the former Franklin and North End School, posted, believe it or not, I love that sentence today, 23% gains in reading. We are also in St. Paul looking to be at the head of the path. The state adoption of the Common Core state standards for reading and writing will also help to transform St. Paul Public Schools. In partnership with the St. Paul Federation of Teachers, the Minnesota Department of Education, and the Council of Great City Schools, we are nationally leading the way of developing the field testing of Common Core assessment in preparation for the statewide implementation in the year 2013. Because of our partnership puts teachers at the forefront of how Common Core will be put in classroom practices. The Bill and Belinda Gates Foundation has given us, or the Council of Great City School better said, a grant for us to do this work in a trial basis in St. Paul. The Common Core results in shift of instructional practices through rigorous reading, writing, and questionings to increase the career and college readiness for students. This week, actually yesterday, St. Paul Public School is hosting a Common Core Summit to help teachers and principals from around the region to learn more about what is the Common Core. The summit is stressing that standards should be looked as the floor, not as the ceiling of student achievement. Please remember that, the floor. Now let's turn our attention in mathematics. We are increasing, but the rigor of the mathematics MCAs this year changed. We had a new test, and our students took the test last spring as new and more rigorous tests, and I'm not trying to justify. We were prepared to handling the test, and our students did okay, but still not as good as we would like to see. Given that the test and all the ways it was administered with both new this year as a result of all our looks, we're not comparing apples to apples because they're 2 different measurements. But even though we now have 10 schools in the district that exceed state math proficiency, which we didn't have before. I'll keep giving you a little bit of good news. When we look at the achievement of groups of students, more white students and more ELL students, English language learners in St. Paul, are proficient in reading and math than the state average for those same groups. So we're leading the pack. For example, in reading, our white students outperform white students statewide in proficiency. In math, our English language learners outperform English language learners statewide. These highlights give you a sense, an illustration of how important for us is getting our students to be providing the achievement that they need. We're helping students to excel no matter where their starting point is. Whether they are coming to us from McGrowan or Myanmar, we can reach them and connect them to learning that is challenging, meaningful, and definitely relevant. What counts the jump in reading this year, we wonder. What was it? Well, I believe there are several factors. A careful alignment of initiatives, which you have seen that we've been doing, an intense focus on quality instruction, and a strong commitment to equity. Additionally, I believe that we're being seen as a solid return from our investment that our people, our taxpayers do every year by giving us the investment and the money for the referendum. We see that with the pre-K program and the full-day kindergarten program. We know that many of our children begin kindergarten already some way or another behind their peers. For example, this preschool learning gap is being addressed by our very robust pre-K program. The St. Paul pre-K program serves more than 1,000 students who are 4-year-olds, with another 700 students in the waiting list. And it's not that we want them in the waiting list, we don't have more space. We know that we have invested in a very strong program, and we know it's there and it works. Let me tell you how we know this. In a study done by the Wilder Research, the data shows, excuse me, I've been coming out of a cold, shows that a year before kindergarten, students in St. Paul who are pre-K made progress more quickly than children nationally. Knowing the alphabet by kindergarten is one of the greatest predictors we know to determine future reading success. Seems simple. This year, St. Paul Public Schools, 82% of all our pre-K students reached the target of alphabet knowledge. 82%. But, and I said this, but, when we go deeply into our data, the achievement gap between white and African American pre-K students in the alphabet knowledge, there is a 26% gap. Now remember, that's learning gap that exists before these children even start school. In spring 2011, I'm just going back 10 years, after less than a year in pre-K, the gap between our African American and white students after they've been in a pre-K program had decreased to almost half, which is a 10% gap. That is a return for our investment of the referendum. Thank you, taxpayers. Because of our progress in this area, we were invited to partner with the University of Minnesota Early Childhood Program and with the work and the leadership of our expert, Dr. Arthur Reynolds, who recently received a $15 million, believe it or not, in I3s, you have heard, innovation federal grants, to study the effectiveness of comprehensive service in learning in pre-K through 3rd grade. The 5-year grant is a partnership with the University of Minnesota and 5 other school districts across the Midwest, including Chicago and Milwaukee. I'm thrilled that St. Paul will be involved in this collaboration. Also, it will require a lot of more work for all of us, and we are ready to go in this new endeavor. And I attribute the fact that we were picked nationally for this grant for the investment the McKnight Foundation has made for years to our pre-K program. Thank you, McKnight. We know we must put resources into early childhood education, and those resources must support programs that work, like our pre-K program. Now, let me go back to the second indicator of success, which is enrollment. This fall, we experienced the first overall enrollment increase in 12 years. We know that we enroll around 39,000 students in grades pre-K to 12. And the trend is promising. This is the second year in a row where actually our enrollment beat our projections. And we are doing projections well, okay? Just in case. Even with this success, we know we have to do more to continue increasing our enrollment. This year, we began our enrollment campaign that has been seen and supported entirely by the private donations. And I thank all of you, especially the foundations that haven't given us the resources to do the most incredible, exciting campaign where we call One Thing I Love About St. Paul Public Schools. And you may have some materials in your table, some stickers you can put in your car. I want everybody to walk out of here with a sticker that says, One Thing I Love About St. Paul Public Schools. And I promise that we will be honking on the streets for you. This campaign gives a voice to our community in very grassroots and personal ways. We have received hundreds of handwritten submissions from the community telling us about their one love they have about St. Paul Public Schools. People says, I love their schools, I love the teachers, I love learning French, I love Mandarin or algebra. Everybody's sharing one thing that makes them believe St. Paul Public School is a great choice for their children. We also know that a stable and growing enrollment will help us to stay the course with our academic plan because a stable enrollment provides stable funding. And that is important in education, as you may know. But there's an important distinction that I want to not underscore. Stable doesn't mean status quo. For us to transform the business of education, we cannot practice business as usual with our budget. Finances must become more student-centered, and I'm losing the light. Is any special reason? Can you see me? I'll keep talking. In the past, we have dealt with reduced funding by making across-the-board cuts. Those cuts translated into people. 86% of our budget is staff. If we are to see the achievement increase that we desire, we cannot keep cutting people because that practice undermines the academic achievement for our students. Instead, we have differentiated funding this year based on requirements that a strong schools, strong community plan told you. It's not the status quo in the past. At the time when, thank you, resources for funding institutions are under intense scrutiny, I can confidently say that we are putting our money into proven practice that benefits students. Before passing our budget last June, we established a baseline of what we believe every school must have and must offer. We said to families, no matter where your child goes to school, you can expect these educational essentials. This approach, while providing assurances for families, also leads to greater equity and fiscal accountability for all of us. This student-centered budget resulted in fewer cuts to school. Yes, fewer cuts to school. In fact, our school allocation this year actually increased by 7 million over last year. There are other kind of transformation helping our schools, but in a smaller scale. And it's not less than human transformation with profound results. Let me tell you about Bella. And I'm looking at her mother right now. Bella is a second grader in one of our school districts. Her mother, Victoria, is here with us today, was very concerned about Bella's desire to come to school. She was not attending St. Paul Public Schools. So one day, a wonderful neighbor told them about our fantastic school called Frost Lake Elementary. And she went and visited. She felt anxious and looked at the school, listened to the teachers, saw the students happy, and make a big decision. I will change Bella to Frost Lake. Victoria knew that she needed to find better fit for her second grader. Bella is in our schools, and not only Bella is in our schools, her brother and her younger sister is in the schools, and Bella has become a future teacher. She sits her little sister and teach them about co-teaching and collaborating. I tell you that those stories is what it warms my heart, and I know that this job is worth all the work that I need to do, and I do every day for our schools. She found in Frost Lake an environment that was welcoming, that was making Bella feel that she's important, and as the mother said today, Bella says, everybody in Frost Lake knows me. When you're in second grade and you believe that everybody knows you, you know that self-esteem is going to carry her a long ways. Thank you, Victoria, for trusting us with your children, and I tell you, we will not disappoint you. Success in the schools comes from many things, and one of them is belief. Do we need our students to believe in themselves? I tell you, yes. Do they believe in their future? I hope they do. And there's here another story that I would like to introduce. I had the opportunity to meet Shayla about a month ago in an event. She's a senior at Johnson Senior High School, and you know all that I have a special feeling. My children graduated from Johnson. Shayla currently ranks 7th academically out of a competitive class of 375 students. She keeps a busy schedule between academics and activities. She's the captain of the Johnson math team, a former treasurer of National Honor Society, and worked at LIFT at the East Side Community Program. Shayla is not one that makes small plans. We must be related. Her top college choices include the University of Minnesota Carlson School of Management. I'll tell you go there, but I can't. Georgetown, Washington, D.C., and the University of Pennsylvania, and not other than Harvard, too. She's planning double major in business and psychology. Very smart. In line with several scholarships, she's one of the 15 St. Paul Public Schools recipient of our wonderful support from the Optimist Club. That's when I met Shayla. When Shayla enrolls in college next year, she will be the first in her immediate family, including 6 brothers and sisters, to do so. Congratulations. And I know in midst of many barriers that you have been working hard to get where you are today. And students like you are far more important to be role models for children like Bella. Don't give up, and thank you for for sharing your story with us. Shayla gives a special thank you, and I love to bring this up because my children went to the same teachers, to her chemistry teacher, Ms. Weinegar, her calculus teacher, Mr. Vang, and her AP biology teacher, Mr. Winnagel, and her counsel, Mr. Shady, for helping her to put those very tedious college applications, and also for applying to many scholarships. And we'll keep track of how many scholarships you get. So we all have to cross our fingers and make sure that you have enough financial support to continue your life. Could you please, Shayla and Victoria, stand up to recognize you for the trust in our schools. So when we look, as I said before, you're a model for our younger generation. You're a model to all of us that may have a better, easy way to get to college. And we're very proud of what you have accomplished and what you have done to enrich the life of your children. These stories are not much different from the 39,000 other St. Paul stories that we hear, and the reason why we think there's no better profession than educators. Education is the base of a society. No greater good than supporting learning. No bigger rewards than making sure that every student wakes up in the morning and thinks, I can't wait to go to school today. Let's dream about that. Can you imagine that every child will say in the morning, I cannot wait to go to school. That is our goal. St. Paul is gathering momentum, I hope. Like Shayla, we are making no small plans. We fully expect to raise achievement and narrow the gap during this decade of transformation. We already know all we need to get there is to get the job done well. Now our knowledge must be met with equal parts of urgency and actions as leaders. And I count you leaders of our community. First, we need the urgency and action to be innovative leaders. Before we reserve the trends of declining enrollment in St. Paul Public School, we were confronted with the situation in which many urban school districts find themselves to keep strong academic program alive in small schools. St. Paul Public School responded. Since 2010, we have co-located 6 school programs that continue to offer full academic program. School communities remain intact, and those school co-locations are thriving and raising achievement, and they are creating a stable enrollment, and we have more parent involvement. A dream that we didn't think it will be in the minds of many of you possible, we were able to change the look of the city. Second, we need the urgency of actions of courageous leaders, and as some of you have heard, I've been called courageous. Sometimes I think I'm a little crazy. But the reality is, courageous leadership is what is going to take us to get to the next 10 years in St. Paul Public Schools and get to the achievement that is not predictable. A data that we have seen that will change and cannot be predictable due to the fact of the race or the income. We know that we cannot be successful if we don't address the issues. The issues are, we're still working on how to reach our African American students regardless of their family income. This disparity must be confronted with courageously conversations, and we're working on that. We began our work, let me tell you, in the area of racial equity last year with our senior leadership and our board. This year, we are expanding our work into our schools. We are committing to eliminate racial disparities through transformation of policies, practice, and systems. We have created this. We need the urgency and actions to be leaders for fair and equitable, stable funding. Schools can no longer be used as lending agencies to address the state's budget shortfall. That is not a long-term solution in education or for Minnesota. We need to have a serious conversation about what we want our students to know, and then we need to determine exactly how much it will cost to provide that. Our St. Paul residents have shown strong support for our schools throughout the local referendum. The referendum makes pre-K, as I said before, an all-day kindergarten possible for St. Paul Public School students. It provides funding for teachers to keep class size kind of stable and supports other educational essentials to continue to raise the bar on learning. We will be asking for a renewal support next November. Yes, it's around the corner, November. Like almost every other school district across the state, local support is essential to continue our progress. And I'm going to ask all of you to help us to get this referendum passed this coming November. There's many leaders among us who demonstrate urgent action, but I am going to single out one. And I'm truly, truly going to single out one who I'm grateful for all the support, and that's Mayor Coleman. The commitment for our city and our student is something that no superintendent could dream, and I have my dream. Whatever it is, Sprocket before and after school enrichment program, or the 220 AmeriCorps members serving our St. Paul public schools and our St. Paul community, our mayor is out there supporting learning because he believes the education impacts the livability, I had to practice that word too, prosperity, and civil engagement. Mayor, I thank you, even though we disagree with the snow. And we are doing really well. It's December 15, and you haven't spent $1 in plowing. So the city will be in better shape, thank God. It is now 8 o'clock, or it's 8:30 actually, on Thursday morning, and I should be quiet and be letting you go. And we have about 39,000 students in our schools, getting on the buses, arriving to school, opening lockers, eating breakfast to go, running through the gymnasium, opening the iPads at Frost Lake and other school, and learning from American history to zoology. Our transformation in St. Paul Public School is as much about giving each and every child a compass for critical thinking and character. It is about providing access to most rigorous AP calculus classes and exposure to the most celebrated musical work. As the world becomes more global, it is important to look beyond the numbers of tests, and do more just measures for child's reading and math on the test. For all the transformation, our future, is David Hall predicted about the next decade, success may continue to be measured in a statistic, but it will be defined in sustained and broader human terms. He leaves us with a thought. In this decade, please think about this, of transformation, we will undergo personal transformation as well. That's us. Our relationship, our workplace, our view of the life itself will transform. We share an awesome responsibility as leaders in this community. Our children are watching and counting on us to lead them into the next decade with hope, with know-how, and with their best interest in heart. Judging from the talent, passion, and urgency in this room, I do not question our ability to continue transforming our school. I do want all of you to provide every St. Paul school student and believe that every St. Paul public school student will have a premier education. I hope you feel as hopeful as I do about our future. I thank you for being here and supporting our schools and believing in our students. You have this superintendent who will serve you, the students, the community, and anybody who needs the help. Thank you for your trust.
It's a tough act to follow. I actually saw Superintendent Silva came and spoke at the St. Paul Chamber many months ago and reignited. I'm a child of a mother who was on the school board in Duluth for 14 years, and so the superintendent reignited some of my interest in the public schools by giving a great speech to the chamber, and I thought, great, I get to follow her today, so here I am. My name is Scott Burns, and I run a company called Gov Delivery in downtown St. Paul. I want to thank Superintendent Silva. It is incredibly important at these critical times to have a leader, and really a number of leaders, but it starts with the schools. Have a leader who's rooted in the community, who understands our community, who's committed to our community, who's not passing through our community. I think that's very important. And we have that in our superintendent, we have that in our mayor, and we're privileged. We could rattle off actually a list of amazing elected officials, amazing servants to our city who share a similar level of commitment, and it's really an amazing thing we have. But our students are in very good hands with this superintendent. I'm proud to be part of this community. I live in the city with my wife and 3 young kids. We don't have any kids in the school yet because I have 3, 4, and under. I started a software company, as I mentioned, called Gov Delivery in a St. Paul basement. And we've grown and added jobs for 10 years straight, which feels very lucky, and to be in that position in this economy has been wonderful. We now employ 90 people. Almost all of them the vast majority of them are in St. Paul. And I'm proud to serve. I have 2 sort of volunteer commitments, and to me they're very intertwined. One is with the St. Paul Public Schools Foundation, and the superintendent talked about the incredible work that the foundation is doing in support of our students and the teachers and the tutoring program. And I also serve on the executive committee and board of the St. Paul Chamber. And many people don't know this, but as with many things St. Paul, the St. Paul Chamber punches very far above its weight and is the largest, oldest, and I'm very confident to say the most effective chamber, the most diverse in terms of viewpoints and bringing people together chamber in the state. And that's been getting even better over the last year. So what I know from my work as an employer, my work as a volunteer, with the foundation and with the chamber, just as Superintendent Silva expressed, is that the livability of our city, the strength of our economy, and the future of our economy is very intertwined with the quality of students we have and the quality of our schools. And I think about every student as an entrepreneur. Every student is an investment that you're making in a future brilliant teacher, a future job creator, a future leader of our city. And the more of them that we make sure succeed, the more successful investments, successful commitments we have against our future. Because like many of you, I plan to spend the rest of my life in this community, and 20 or 30 years from now, we're going to look at this moment when we could have succumbed to cynicism, as a lot of people have about our public schools. We've chosen as a city to rally around our schools. We've brought people together around the community. We have an amazing leader, and that is really what we're going to look back on 20 or 30 years from now and be very proud of having ensured a great future for this great city by making these commitments. So everyone here has a vested interest in following through with the urgency and action that Superintendent Silva spoke of, and we know that we're the ones who can influence the conversation and redirect some of that cynical energy out there, and we have an opportunity to influence the conversation, but also a responsibility to do it well. And in order to do that, you have to be an informed influencer. And there's no better way to become an informed leader for the St. Paul Public Schools than to see the schools through the eyes of someone charged with leading it, the school principal. So on your table, we have these these tents at every table. And if you take a look there, you'll see some information about the Principal for a Day program, which is March 1st. There's a lot of busy people in this room. You have a lot of time to plan. Your table host will be handing out a bookmark with the date as well. I want you to take it with you, save the date on your calendar, and watch for a formal invitation in the weeks ahead. You're all invited to take part, of course. When the school district held Principal for a Day last month, I might be wrong about this, but Mayor, did you participate in that as well? So you can ask the mayor about his experience. But he wasn't articulate enough for me to quote, so they chose somebody else. Now, I think I'm going to quote Mike Newman with the Travelers Foundation, who participated and had this to say. I consider myself someone who has a pretty good sense of what the schools are like, but my experience as Principal for a Day awakened an awareness in me about the challenges and opportunities that teachers have, the importance of great leadership to a school, and the relevance that climate plays in helping young people learn. The opportunity to see teachers up close through the lens of the instructional leader was very advantageous to the work I do. To see a true learning environment is an experience I was very touched by. Being Principal for a Day gave me the opportunity to see just how extraordinary schools are. In the year ahead, leading up to St. Paul's referendum renewal, the critical referendum renewal that funds the programs that the superintendent talked about, you're going to be asked, how are things working in St. Paul Public Schools, and are we seeing the return on investment? And we heard some of the statistics today about the impact that the pre-K programs and the all-day kindergarten have. But I urge you to spend a day in a school before answering that question and see for yourself what's working in the St. Paul Public Schools. See for yourself where the biggest challenges lie and where the greatest opportunities reside. You can become a well-informed leader, and moreover, you will be inspired, and that's guaranteed. Thank you for coming, and thank you for your continued support of our outstanding superintendent and the St. Paul Public Schools. And as you leave, we're going to send you off with a powerful reminder of the 39,000 reasons to lead with urgency and action. So enjoy these images of our students sharing the one thing they love about St. Paul Public Schools, and have a great day.